Hello everyone and welcome back to episode 131 of your favourite Formula 1 show. Yes, Knowing Wheel returns this weekend to look back over the action from the Dutch Grand Prix. As always, I'm joined by Jamie183. How are we doing, my friend?
I'm good. This episode is, a day late and a dollar
Yep.
short, as Martin Brundle would say, due to the fact I did something stupid on Monday. But there we go. Less said about that. No, actually, you know what?
Talk about it, yeah. Let's give me a minute.
My bank holiday Monday in the UK, which is something weird that we get for those of you not in the UK. I went to every Premier League stadium. There's 20 of them all over the country. Me and a couple of friends went and visited every single one in a day. So this is the day after that. But yesterday, as we record this, I was up at 4 a.m. in Newcastle, which is in the very north of England, and finished 19 stadiums later in Bournemouth, which is the very south of England, at 3 a.m. the next day. So almost 24 hours later. So I am shattered. I want to be in bed, but Matt has dragged me out to record this podcast.
Well, hang on a minute. Originally, so basically, often how these things work is Jamie and I will message on a Monday morning, after a Grand Prix. When I get up, I like to go through and plan my week. And obviously, one of the most important things I look forward to on a Monday evening is recording the podcast with Jamie. So I hit him up. I go, Jamie, what time are you free today? Bank holiday Monday, hoping he's got a bit of extra time. And he goes, check my Instagram. And the first thing I see is a story from 7 hours earlier of him in the car. I'm like, oh, dearie me. So yeah, we're blaming Jamie for why the podcast is at a day late this week.
Follow me on Instagram, by the way. Leave a link in the description.
Follow us both on Instagram. I'll make ssure at Matt212 at Jamie_Brewerton.
No, just Jamie Brewerton, one word.
Jamie Brewerton, all one word.
Great content.
Follows. Well, let's not go that far. It's about as great as his YouTube content. But of course, if you're watching this on my main YouTube channel, of obviously from 2024, a little bit of housekeeping before we jump into it. I'm sorry to all of those of you that listen every week. As of 2024, Knowing Wheel is moving exclusively onto its own YouTube channel. A little bit of an update for you all in the subscriber race against Jamie183. Jamie, how many subs are you on? Quickly.
That's a good question.
Has it gone down? That's what I want to know.
I actually think it might have gone up. I was at an event last week, and it ended up the people there were like, let's watch his old videos. So I kid you not, I was in a room with 15 people or so, and they put me racing in league racing on the telly, and people were shouting and cheering when I took the lead and stuff like that. It was so bizarre.
Little fun side fact for you there as well. Jamie, obviously, like we said, apparently watches league racing with. Was this at work?
No, it wasn't work. It was work related. It was people.
Fair enough.
Work.
It was a work related event. Jamie also watches his own league racing highlights in nightclubs in Magaluf.
I forgot about that. It was a dead club. It was a
1:30 in the
dead
morning,
club.
Watching his own league racing highlights as we're just
watching
there.
me overtake you at China, wasn't it?
Apparently so, from like 7 years ago. But anyway, Jamie, how many subs are you on? We need to get the
538.
So we are now 392 away. We're up to 146, Jamie, so we're closing in on you thick and fast.
Oh, I'm in trouble.
Basically, the moral of the story there is, if you do enjoy listening to the podcast on the Matt212 channel, there'll be a link top of the description to the Knowing Wheel podcast channel, because as of next year, all the shows are going to be going live there exclusively, and we need your help, because as of yesterday, every single podcast now, Jamie, is ready to go on that channel. So do we upload them all overnight, 120 episodes in one go, or do I stagger them out over the next 6 months?
All in once. I think all in one go.
Once.
What do you let us know what you think.
We will run a debate. We'll run a poll even over on that channel, and yeah, the winner, will you see 120 podcasts go up all in one hit? That is the real question everybody wants to know. But let's actually get into the important stuff, Jamie. We've been rambling on for a good 5 minutes. The Dutch Grand Prix. Formula 1 was back, and it pretty much was crazy instantly, wasn't it?
Yeah, obviously the Dutch love a party, so the bases are going all weekend in the Zandvoort surroundings. They actually, do you see they banned cars? That's quite cool.
Yes, yeah.
You weren't allowed to drive, which is bizarre for a Formula One race. I thought they were just going to be standing in their grid spots. On
I reckon
Sunday,
Max wouldn't have won if they were. Actually, who do you reckon would win?
Valtteri.
Do you reckon Valtteri? He's a good cyclist.
He's a very good cyclist, and if it's Holland, they probably had bikes.
Yeah.
Who do you think is the fastest driver in a race? That's a good question. That's a good video idea in a running race.
I reckon Formula One should get on that.
They should. That's a quality idea. I bet insurance and they're not allowed to race against each other. But
probably not.
That's another issue. Less. What was going on? Oh, Friday. Yes, we had both Australians, Piastri and Ricciardo, managed to find a wall almost simultaneously. I think Piastri first spun, wasn't it, at turn 3?
Yeah.
And then is it turn 4?
Yep, turn 3.
Oh, turn 3. And then Ricciardo was distracted by a side on McLaren and stacked it himself in sympathy, and really bizarrely managed to break his hand, which it didn't look like he did anything wrong. Obviously, it wasn't a super heavy crash, but I guess he just didn't let go of the steering wheel in time.
That was exactly what happened, yeah.
Yeah, got a fairly bad fracture, which he's now had surgery on and is in recovery for. So that immediately meant my absolute boy from Formula 2 last year, Liam Lawson, was jetted in and raced from there on, from Saturday onwards.
Can we give a quick update then, of course, on the Jamie183 cursed F2 drivers? How did Fred Vesti get on this weekend?
I didn't see, really, but I saw both his rear wheels literally fell off.
Yes, exactly.
What was that about?
But Prema are obviously, Ferrari's junior team still, so Prema did Ferrari things, is all I can say.
I just thought he was running quite well, wasn't he? And then literally his two rear wheels just fell off.
Yeah, it was not great.
It was bizarre. It's like, how can I not? If I choose a young driver to support, it's curtains for their career.
Pretty much, it is especially when we both like Dennis Hauger last year. We were both so hyped up for Dennis Hauger, and then he did nothing. Even worse than that, though, Jamie, was Clement Novalak taking the win. Because for those of you that come out to my Twitch streams, you'll know that my girlfriend is a huge Clement Novalak fan. And I've given her stick for... I don't know, Jamie. In fact, to be honest, bless her, she doesn't really know either. But she just likes him. She kind of picked him and has stuck with him. And I've given a stick all year for Clement Novalak being a bit mediocre. And then he went and won. So I got a lot of grief throughout Sunday.
What a guy.
Yeah, bizarre. But fair play Clement Novalak there, and unlucky Fred Vesti. Good luck spending another year in F2 next season. Although I can't say much because my boy Teo Porcher binned it.
Yeah, he actually made his own mistake, so have that.
He did make his own mistakes. So it was a bit of a disaster all around. But let's get on with the real Formula 1 action, though, Jamie. Of course, as we mentioned, Alex Albon, we should say, was looking fast all weekend, wasn't he? And as we went into qualifying, it looked like we could see some changeable conditions.
Yeah, it was so wet in Saturday morning that the F2 sprint race was actually fully cancelled. Or did it race for about 5 corners, didn't it?
It raced for about 5 corners until a Campos mounted another Campos.
Yeah, there was a really nasty crash. Everyone was alright, but it looked pretty bad. And it was just impossible to race and get the laps in for F2, so they just abandoned it and no one got any points. So yeah, by the time FP3 rolled around, it was a little bit drier. It was possible to run, but a bit pointless. Apart from Liam Lawson did obviously.
I was going to say, Liam Lawson.
He's never driven an F1 car in anger before. But yeah, by the time quali came around, it was no longer raining, but it was still wet, and it just throughout the session drying up progressively, which is always really good for qualifying sessions, I think, because it basically makes it a one shot. Even when it's dry, the track is still getting faster and faster at a faster rate than normal. Yeah,
I was going to say, you think of other good qualifying sessions this year. Probably Spain is the one that sticks out, isn't it? Spain and Silverstone. And they obviously were both on drying tracks. I mean, let's be fair, Jamie. 2023 Formula 1, I mean, we can talk about this a whole lot more when we get into the Grand Prix itself, absolutely has been saved by the weather, hasn't it, this year?
Yeah, it's bizarre how much wet weather we've had. It's global warming.
Every single Grand Prix since Imola has been... Well, obviously Imola was cancelled because it was rain affected. Every single Grand Prix since then has been rain affected.
Really? That's incredible.
Madness.
That really is...
At some point during the weekend.
F1 for the last 73 years has been killing the planet so much that it just rains all the time now. So, you know what?
Only God can stop Max Verstappen.
So when was Imola meant to be? Between Miami and Monaco? No, before Miami, wasn't it?
No, after Miami.
No. So yeah, the races before that were in, well, 3 of them were in the Middle East.
The Middle East and Australia.
And Australia and Miami, which all of those places never rained. So basically every track that it could have rained, it has rained.
I think could have rained is a bit strong. It has famously rained at Albert Park a few times in the past.
You know what? The weather in Monza on Sunday looks 40% rain.
It looks like it's going to rain this weekend as well. I mean, it
Supposedly.
is bizarre, isn't it, this year? There's got to be some sort of conspiracy surrounding the rain in Formula 1. But you know what? We'll take it, because despite the fact, I mean, spoiler alert, Verstappen keeps winning, at least there's some drama going on behind him.
Indeed.
But Jamie did the notes for qualifying, and I got no idea who went out in Q1, apart from Esteban Ocon, because apparently he's a fraud.
Yes, it was both Alfa Romeo's Kevin
yeah.
Magnussen, and Lawson was last, obviously.
Yes,
I think he was a second off Bottas in 19th, but then that's fair play. I think when it's his first session, and he's
done
got
next
flown
to
in the morning.
and he done next to no even testing simulator runs,
yeah.
even in the AlphaTauri. He'd done it all in the Red Bull, so he had even less of an idea of the car he was in.
Yeah, not at all. So I think he actually did quite well to only be a second off Bottas, who's been driving that car all year. So yeah, I mean, the only real surprise there was Ocon, I think, who was disappointed. I don't quite know why he went out, but he probably made some excuse. But yeah, that was straight on to Q2. And
I'm surprised you didn't back that up with because he's French, to be fair. But well done, we're maturing.
The other Frenchman's a goat, so we like the French this weekend.
Fair enough. We like the French this
weekend. We like one of them anyway.
Well, we like one of them every weekend, to be fair.
Yeah, true.
It's just neither of us are keen on Esteban Ocon. Anyway, let's talk about the French and our division. Q2, Hamilton gets screwed over. Very, very upset by that one, of course. Got blocked by about 4 cars throughout Q2. It seemed every other lap he was getting blocked by someone.
He did get a proper lap in, though, didn't he? Eventually.
Not really. He still got blocked, he felt.
It was a bad entry.
He had no idea what was going on.
But P13, not the best.
P13
came into the weekend saying, let's go for P2 in the championship.
Yeah. I reckon it's still on between now and the end of the year. But that did also then mean that both Williams, let's be fair, Logan Sargent, hats off to him. The Williams car looked good this weekend, but made it through to Q3. The first US driver to do so in 30 years, Jamie. Is kind of mad, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty crazy. But I think it was good for Sargent to get through. I think, obviously, that's one of the seats that isn't secure yet for 2024.
We spoke about this, though, last week, didn't we? We kind of believe it is.
I'm less and less sure as he keeps on, spoiler alert, crashing. But
I think Williams will give him the time. I mean,
I think they will.
Enough, of course. Your guy, who you backed up last week, Jamie, Zhou Guanyu, all the reports are suggesting he might not have a drive next year. And what did he do that Logan Sargent did this weekend?
Only crashed once, not twice.
Still crashed in the race.
Ran in the podium places, which Sargent didn't do. So
I've just read your notes for Q3. You're that worried about Zhou Guanyu. Jamie has put in the notes that Sargent crashed and handed his 2024 seat to Zhou. Are you now worried that Zhou Guanyu's going to lose that seat?
If Zhou does lose his Alfa Romeo seat, which I will admit is maybe possible, I think he'll land at Williams. That's my theory.
Really? I'm not convinced he will.
I think he would.
I think it'd be a shame, but I can see him end up going somewhere like WEC.
Nah. He's got the he has to race his home Grand Prix. F1 wouldn't be persevering with Shanghai if it wasn't for Zhou.
Never mind the fact China just like having a Grand Prix, just have no control over COVID.
True. But I do think it was good for Sargent to get in. But sadly, as we said, Q3 began with a crash for him, which was unfortunate because I think James Vowers, pre-weekend, basically said, we're pleased with Logan, but he needs to start making more steps and more steps in high-pressure situations, is what he actually said. So the pace has been improving, but every time the pressure's on, like a final lap in Q1 or Q2, he hasn't quite got it together until
Yes,
this weekend when he did, and then Q3 comes around and the pressure
was off, and he goes and bins it.
Yeah. So that was a shame for him, but it did lead to a curtailed, like, shorter session effectively because no one got laps in before that, and then a few drivers got laps in before another man who loves a crash did the same thing later on in session, Charles Leclerc. I think how many times he crashed in Q3 this season? That must be at least twice.
At least his third, I reckon. Probably.
Yeah, plenty of times for Charles Leclerc, but it was
binned
really
in
weird,
Baku,
that one.
didn't he, as well?
Oh yeah, that was a sprint quali, but it still counts. And he binned it in Miami in Q3.
Miami, yeah, was the big one, wasn't it?
But yeah, it was
bizarre,
weird. Really
it?
quite unforced. Just into turn 6, the right-hander.
6 or 7, yeah.
Yeah, and it just completely understeered and didn't bother slowing down. So straight into the wall, and that left temporarily a McLaren 1-2 with Norris ahead of Piastri, wasn't it? Because Verstappen hadn't set a time yet, and there's only about 3 minutes left on the clock as Leclerc crashed. So it was basically a one-shot quali on a green track, which is fully dry, but no rubber was laid on it because it had been raining, of course, all morning. And yeah, going into this one-shot quali, obviously anything's an option. You know, who could go fastest? We don't know. Not Charles Leclerc or Logan Sargent, but yeah, 8 drivers gunning for pole, and then Max Verstappen ruins everyone and goes on to pole position by an absolute country mile, as we kind of expected.
Lando did really look like the only one that could even threaten him, didn't he? This weekend,
Yes.
But rather, unsurprisingly, Verstappen took pole, Norris P2, Russell and Albon though. Shout out to Albon especially with P4 there, and Alonso P5, and again another qualifying where Perez just does not get it hooked up. 1.3 seconds behind his teammate on the final run, around a 72nd lap.
Insane, isn't it? What is that in percentage?
2% roughly.
Yeah, it's almost 2%. That's crazy. Like, for a driver who's got credibility, he's a decent driver. He's shown that in his career. And he goes against Max Verstappen and just gets absolutely done in. But at least he was in Q3.
Yeah, for a change. But that left us, with a pretty spicy grid then, didn't it, for Sunday? Obviously, a lot of drivers in difficult positions. A lot of drivers higher up the order than they were expecting. A lot of drivers lower down the order than they were expecting. And things were going to get even more dramatic, weren't they, Jamie? Because as they were peeling off the grid for the formation lap, all the teams were basically saying it's going to rain any point now. And that basically just led to chaos, didn't it?
Yeah, it was so exciting. The first 6 or 7 laps were insane. They were lovely.
I like to say back to lap 15, wasn't it?
Yeah. It settled down a little bit after that, but literally the end of lap 1, or they're coming round lap 1 into the stadium section, towards the sector 3, and it's just like boat racing on slick tyres. And at that point, I was like, surely they're all going to pit, and this is going to be chaos because the pit lane's tiny. And then the top 6 didn't pit. And I was like, okay, what on earth's going on? By this point, by the way, Alonso's jumped from 5th to 2nd because he's just a baller in the wet weather.
5th to 3rd on lap 1. You got George and Alex lap 1, yeah.
Yeah, really good stuff from Alonso. And then got Norris up the hill on lap 2, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah.
But yeah, I think Perez pit, Joe pit, and Gasly pit.
And Tsunoda and Lawson
and a few
and
others.
Yeah. Because what I couldn't believe, was Lawson got a 10-second penalty for impeding Kevin Magnussen when there wasn't really a lot else he could do other than block the pit lane entirely.
Yeah, it was either block Magnussen in his box or stop in the pit lane.
Which I thought was kind
unfair.
of just kind of the nature of the beast kind of thing when it came to double stacking.
Yeah. Which is a shame for Lawson, and especially, not a great way to start your first F1 race with a penalty, but not his fault at all. Actually, it didn't end up affecting things that badly later in the race. But, and then lap 2 comes around, and they're all like, okay, we're surviving, but we're going 6 or 7 seconds every sector slower than Perez is. And then they all pit, or a lot of them pit on lap 2, the end of lap 2, including Verstappen, and not Norris and Russell, who carried on. But a lot of other drivers did, and this basically elevated Perez to the lead, Joe into 2nd. I don't know where he got past Gasly. He must have been in the pit lane.
Yes, it was, yeah.
And Gasly 3rd place. And Verstappen, I think, came out 4th or 5th.
Yep.
But obviously immediately started putting in the lap times against everyone else. But you had the likes of Norris and Russell leading at the start of lap 3. And then by the end of lap 3, they were already behind Perez and Verstappen and Joe. Like, they were just literally 10, 15 seconds a lap slower. But they were just sitting it out because they knew that the rain was very temporary. And then as soon as it started drying, they were basically gunning that, because 2 pit stops, if basically you stay out on dries, you save 2 pit stops. They're gunning that the rain will cost them less than 40 seconds. Which, to be fair, wasn't a terrible guess if it wasn't heavy rain. But I think in hindsight,
it wasn't costing you 20 seconds a lap.
yeah. In hindsight, it was lap 10 or so that the dry started getting as quick as the inters again, wasn't it?
Yes.
So, yeah, it didn't work out a lot for them. The ones who had it the worst were the ones who tried to stick it out, gave up on lap 6 or 7, and then 3 laps later would have been on the right tyre. So that was
it was Logan Sargent, wasn't it? Who by lap 7 was already lapped. And he's just kind of just in the wrong place at the wrong time. Which was absolutely mad. But, I mean, the long and the short of it was, Checo suddenly had a 15-second lead by the end of lap 3. And despite, equal machinery and everything like that, Max was going 3-4 seconds a lap faster still. Yeah. Because that's just what Max does. One thing, though, that I was surprised didn't get talked about more was the move Max did on Pierre.
Yeah, even Gasly himself. Did you see the little podium podcast Verstappen's hosting with Alonso and different guests every week?
Yes,
the clip of Verstappen down the inside of turn 3 on Gasly was in the little repeat of the race they show in that room. And Gasly was like, I touched the white line and then lose all grip. So I think Gasly thinks he was basically just running wide anyway, and Verstappen took the place. But in real time, it proper looked like Verstappen forced him off. But I guess
it looked like he was just not given any room, didn't it? Which I was amazed wasn't a 5-second penalty.
Yeah, I guess maybe we didn't see Gasly's on board, but I guess if it looked like, because Gasly himself said that he touched the white line and got no grip, so I guess if he was going off track anyway, Verstappen didn't force him off technically.
Yeah,
but it did look a bit dodgy at the time, so he got away with that one. But
yeah, kind of one of those ones where Gasly was going to get barged out if he hadn't slipped off, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But already, though, by sort of lap 10, as you said, the dries were starting to come back into their own, and it was now the question, of course, of Checo had about a 5-second lead over Max. What were Red Bull going to do, Jamie? And this is where things got a little bit controversial, wasn't it?
A slight bit, but I don't see it, really. I get why. So basically, the second stop comes around, it's time to go back to dries, and they pit Verstappen first without telling Perez, and then a lap later pit Perez, and obviously because it's time for dries, Verstappen's gone way quicker and undercut him by an absolute load. It's 8 or 9 seconds, isn't it, after the stops?
Yeah.
So I can see why Perez is annoyed, but at the end of lap 1, they gave Perez the better strategy. Whether it was Perez's call or Max's call.
Perez made the call. The tyres weren't ready when Perez came in.
But I guess they could have told Max to pit then, but the tyres weren't ready. So that's like luck of the draw kind of thing. So I think they were just handing back the advantage that Perez got in the first stop. So I don't see it as a massive issue. I think if Perez had pit first, Verstappen still would have won the race.
Oh, yeah. But it'd be nice to have a fight on track between them.
I can see why Perez is annoyed, but I don't have that much sympathy.
No, I think, it was just one of those ones, I think, from a fan of Formula 1 that isn't really a fan of Red Bull, it just looked like another example. Because even Perez's stop was slow as well. It was another example of, let's make sure that Max is back in front of him. We'll just do what we need to make sure Max is back in front of him. Which, when you've got a 120-point lead in the championship just at the summer break, kind of stings, as an onlooker.
It's almost like swapping over your 1-2 in Russia with a 40-point lead, isn't it?
Well, that's a lot less than 120 in a battle just between your two drivers. But I mean, this is the thing, though, isn't it, Jamie? Like, I've seen a lot more, especially this year, of course. People sort of saying the difference between Red Bull's domination and Mercedes' domination. Red Bull are absolutely villains, aren't they? This is why Formula 1 has struggled more with Red Bull's domination than Mercedes' domination.
But I think Mercedes, they just play nice, but secretly they're villains as well.
Every Formula One team is villains behind the scenes. You're not.
Yeah.
Why would you be in a competitive sport with billions of dollars if you were?
You are going to be a selfish organisation naturally, and so
Yeah.
so are the drivers. They're going to be selfish themselves as well.
But Red Bull really, like, people don't... Like,
They
you're
are
either
the
a Red
dark
Bull
side.
fan or you hate them, isn't it? They're not a team that you can, like, be ambivalent towards, is it? It feels like.
Yeah, maybe. But they're part of the pantomime, part of the show.
Yeah, I think Formula One... it's the little things that we've said before. It's even the way Max just celebrates exactly the same way every time. Like, whenever he wins.
Just, yeah.
There's like I think
very
for a
lovely
lot of
race.
people, it just doesn't feel that
But Lewis
special
did
the
as
way
well.
they do it. But Lewis would often
does feel a bit cold and
dedicate it to
clinical.
different people. He obviously even things obviously 2020, where he'd wear T-shirts on the podium that would get him in trouble with the FIA because he was standing up for what he believes in. It just feels almost sterile, doesn't it? In a way,
A little bit.
Like,
I do like when Verstappen has a friend on the podium. Like when Lando's up there, it does seem like more fun. But
yeah.
Like it just seems like he's having a
weird
laugh,
thing.
and he's not really taking it as seriously, which I quite like. But then,
No, I think
guess
it's
the
the
pinnacle of
difference, isn't
motorsport.
it? Between
Yeah.
because it's funny as well, isn't it? Because Max often says he worries more about sim racing than real Formula One,
Yeah,
which is absolutely mad. But you also think, it's probably far more competitive for him.
yeah,
as
He's
well.
got equal cars to people in sim racing, so
Exactly, yeah. And people that will spend like hundreds of hours practicing in the same way Max is more than happy to do.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves because we've still got most of a Grand Prix to go over.
yeah,
The next kind of real piece of action was, of course, Logan Sargent again binning it.
yeah. I think they're saying he had a suspension failure before the crash, whether it's to protect him or because he actually did
It
it.
swung round incredibly quickly.
Yes, yeah. So it could have been a suspension on the front right failure, but either way, it was another experience with the barrier for Logan Sargent.
Very
This
diplomatic
weekend,
of you.
I know that's so good because I'm definitely not an unbiased Formula One fan. So Sargent was out of the race. It caused quite a long safety car because I think he damaged the barriers a bit, didn't he?
Yes.
So, at this point I stopped watching because I had to go to work. So yeah, as the race restarted, I think at lap 20-ish, everyone's on tries. A few people saw it through without stopping for inters. Alex Albon, I think, was the main one.
I think Alex Albon was the only one that
Maybe
made
he
it
was the
all
only
the
one.
way. Yeah.
Yeah, but the order is just a massive mess. Both Mercedes are well down. You still had Joe up in P4 or 5, I think. Gasly was P3. Sainz was up there. It was a Red Bull one too, of course, because it's 2023. And yeah, it settled a little bit down, but most of them were on softs because it's obviously still mixed conditions and you want tyre warm up. But Alfa Romeo decided that they're going to not take the opportunity to score points and put Joe on mediums, which was a lot of fun.
Yeah, again, another lost opportunity for Alfa Romeo, wasn't it, this weekend?
Yes.
Which was disappointing to see. But really, yeah, a lot of the middle stage of this race, again, it was another one of those races where there is stuff going on, but none of it's particularly exciting. It was basically just drivers trying to shift themselves in towards the right places. So yeah, Alonso had moved all the way up to P3. Gasly was following along nicely in P4. Sainz was up to 5th. Doing a pretty decent job on a Ferrari that again just seemed to be off the pace all weekend. Hamilton and George obviously trying to make their way back through. Lando was recovering places. But
Liam Lawson overtook Charles Leclerc.
Liam Lawson overtook Charles Leclerc, who you've got to mention earlier on because it was definitely in the notes. Collided with Piastri on lap 1, and yeah, Charles basically got floor damage, which ruined him for the rest of the afternoon. So I think it was lap 42. He retired from the Grand Prix. And mad as well, isn't it, Jamie? That Leclerc had more points, I think, or should have had more points by about round 6 last season. That he's still not broken 100 points this year, which is mad.
Wow.
Madness,
That's
isn't
insane.
it?
Yeah.
But you kind of think, on the
Sainz
other
back ahead
hand,
of him.
what was that, round 15? He'd have to be averaging 9 points, or 8 or 9 points a Grand Prix. And, those opportunities just haven't, materialised every week.
Because the grid's so competitive. The top 6 certainly is so competitive.
Well,
You throw
second
Alpine
through
in there.
8th. Third through 8th.
Well, Yeah, yeah. Well, third through 12th, really, because I would say you've got 6 teams. Well, Red Bull first, and then 5 teams that randomly can score points.
Yeah. And obviously Alex Albon.
Apparently, yeah. I do remember you in Magaluf saying that Williams, Haas, Alfa Romeo, and AlphaTauri won't score any more points this season.
I said I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't score any more points.
That was a good shout from Matt there.
Well, Alex Albon, fair play to him. He's an absolute baller. I'm not going to argue against him. I love Alex, and I will continue to back him. But that really then led us into about the final 15 laps of drama, because rain was predicted once again. By lap 62, 10 laps remaining, that rain had started, and just like at the start of the Grand Prix, it absolutely bucketed it down. Checo Perez bins it into turn 1, loops it round, is lucky not to get any serious damage, and then Alonso moves up to P2, as Zhou Guanyu then goes and bins it properly, doesn't he? Pretty much capping off a weekend of what
binning
could have
is
been.
hard.
Well, he binned it. He was the only one that aquaplaned into the wall at turn 1.
You can't do anything about aquaplaning in Formula 1. And
don't hit the puddle.
A second before and a second after, the car directly ahead of him and directly behind him both did the exact same thing.
Well, they didn't do the exact same thing, did they? They didn't hit the wall at 100 miles an hour. They both got it slowed down.
Bottas's cycling legs helped him press the brake pedal harder. So
it's not quite how ABS works.
Not quite how it works. Okay. Yes. So unlucky for Zhou. I wouldn't say it was his fault to aquaplane in an absolute flood.
Aquaplaning, no, but aquaplaning that badly, yes. He locked at the fronts and just never managed to get rotating again.
Okay, we'll settle for that. I'll take that. Yeah, but that caused a safety car and then obviously red flag because, like, as much as stick as the wet weather tyres get, when cars are aquaplaning, you can't carry on racing like that because it is just ridiculous. So the red flag was justified, I think. Maybe not for quite as long as it was out, but confusingly, because Perez had spun and then pit for full wets, didn't he? He was basically in 4th or 5th when the red flag. No, Gasly.
Yeah, sorry, yeah, when the red flag, yeah.
When the red flag was called, Perez was actually stuck in the pit lane because he literally just put the wets on.
And sped in because he couldn't get the car slowed down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which made me laugh, because obviously he got a 5-second penalty for that. People were going, oh, that's so unfair, he couldn't slow the car down in time. That's not a fantastic excuse when he goes in there and mows down 12 people. Like,
yeah, the safety...
just because he struggled to get the car slowed down doesn't mean he shouldn't get a penalty.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if it's not his fault, he's still spared in the pits.
But it is his fault. He's the one in charge of the car, and he's making sure it's doing 37 miles an hour into that pit lane. Apparently he was 0.8 miles an hour over.
Well, that's over, so...
Exactly.
Unlucky.
Penalty. Simple as. I don't get some people.
No, neither. But, yeah, Perez did end up getting to restart in P3 again, wasn't it? Because it went back to when Alonso got ahead of it, but not Gasly. So, yeah, it was Verstappen, Alonso, Perez restarting, but Perez obviously with that 5 seconds for the speeding in the pits. And... you had a little 6-7 lap shootout, and unlike Melbourne, they did the right thing sporting wise.
They did not do the right thing sporting wise. Why give us all this hype about how you're gonna start doing standing restarts, especially in the rain? I was expecting Alonso's win. It worried me that I was willing to back Alonso for a second.
But I think they did the right thing. Dutch
Grand Prix, they want Max to win, so they give him an easy out and say, right, we'll let you start behind the safety car.
Melbourne was ridiculous, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah. Formula 1 loves ridiculous, Jamie.
But it doesn't feel like much of a sport when you're just stopping the race to give us a restart.
It doesn't feel like much of a sport when the same driver wins 17 times in a row, let's be fair.
Yeah, fair enough. But I think it was the right call. We saw in 2020, like
I'm taking
like
it,
yeah. Mugello and Monza in 2020, where they were like, oh, hang on, red flags and restarts give us some unpredictability. We just had Gasly win. We just had 16 cars crash out because we keep restarting the race every 2 seconds. This is great. And since then they just give us restarts and safety cars for a bit of script, and it just feels not right.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I mean, I think this is the thing we've said so many times before, isn't it? But I think it really did take, sadly, the death of Charlie Whiting for a lot of us, and I think we probably can be included in that, to realise just how good a job he did in maintaining the sport.
Yeah, for sure. And it was almost by accident that they realised that these almost like script safety cars could be really helpful. I think the catalyst was Brazil in 2019, where Bottas retired, and they threw a safety car. It was Seb and
Leclerc took each other out, wasn't it?
Afterwards, yeah. But the thing that triggered it was quite a boring race, to be honest. Verstappen was going to win. Sounds a bit familiar. But then Bottas had a DNF on track right by an escape road. Perfect situation for a VSC. But because there were 20 laps to go, the season's done. It was like 2 races from the end. Hamilton's won the title. Not really much going on. They were like, you know what, let's just throw a full safety car. And then it was a crazy end to the race. Obviously, Ferrari's crash, Hamilton Albon crash. Gasly's on the podium, Sainz on the podium. First non-big 3 teams at that time get podiums that season, apart from Kvyat in Hockenheim. It was a really, really entertaining race. And they were like, oh, that's great. We should write that down. And every time we need a special safety car to give us an exciting finish, then we'll do it. And we saw the climax of that in 2021, really, didn't we? So, yeah. I think this time round they made the right call.
I understand why they made the call they did, to be fair. You know, like I said, I gave it a bit of stick. You know, I think it's very, very easy, of course, to say, personally, I would have loved a standing start, but, I'm also not going to deny the fact it was basically just because it might have given someone else a chance to take a win away from Max. But, of course, that didn't happen. He matched Seb's 9 wins in a row, and I am going to be at Monza watching him break that this weekend in Ferrari territory.
I hope you wear your Red Bull hat.
He's going to make it 10, isn't he?
Well, you say that.
Oh, don't give me the curse, yeah.
The last 3 victors of the Monza Grand Prix have DNF'd the following year. And, of course, Max Verstappen won the race last year. So, who knows? Who knows? We could get a Pedro Della Rosa out of nowhere. We could. Take out 4 cars at Turn 1.
Exactly. Or we get a 1988 where McLaren come 3 laps from a flawless year. Perhaps that's what happens to Red Bull.
Maybe. Lando Norris.
Has anyone inside the Ferrari family died recently? Because that's obviously Enzo died, and that's how they won.
I have no idea. Well, if someone does between now and then, it was Matt.
It's on. It's me. Don't pin me for murder, please. Especially not an Italian law.
No, you're definitely done. You're not getting back out.
Yeah. But yeah, there we go then. In the end, I mean, it was actually a dramatic Grand Prix, wasn't it? But it kind of says the state of Formula 1 is in. The most overtakes ever in a Formula 1 race, Jamie. 63 overtakes alone on lap 3 is absolutely mad, isn't it? It breaks the record from the 2016 Chinese Grand Prix. But again, halfway through, I almost fell asleep.
Yeah, it was a bit dead in parts. But I remember the previous record in China was equally a bit dead in parts. Rosberg was always going to win that race. So it's strange because the most overtakes doesn't always mean the best race, because that one actually, similarly, was drivers. I think Haryanto was in 5th for a bit of that race. Palmer was in 3rd or something.
Oh my God.
5 or 6 cars. 5 or 6 cars stayed out on their mediums and basically got passed by everyone, which added like 80 overtakes.
40 overtakes, yeah, it's mad.
Yeah,
absolutely
but
mad.
it was a very entertaining race for 60% of the time.
Definitely one of the highlights of the year so far, wasn't it? On a scale of 1 to 10, Jamie?
Race rating, what do I think? Yeah, I'd give it like an 8.
I was going to give it an 8.5.
I'm negative because I think a 10 out of 10 race is like unforgettable race of the decade, and it wasn't quite
like a Canada 2011 sort of thing, isn't it? It's one that moments of it will stick with us, a bit like Portimao 2020 was.
Yeah.
But not an all-enthralling Grand Prix like some of the truly iconic ones. It's what we want to do in the off season. Actually, is live stream us watching along some old races as well, don't we?
That'd be
we're live would be great fun. But yeah, Max took the win though, ahead obviously of Alonso and Pierre Gasly, as Checo got his 5-second penalty. So yep, Sergio Perez went from a 15-second lead on lap 2 in the dominant car to not scoring a podium at the end of the GP. But that, Jamie, is actually going to be a pretty poor segue, if I do say so myself, into this week's quiz. So there are 7 answers, if I'm not mistaken. 7 correct answers this week. So,
That's
Max Verstappen, No, it's not. Max Verstappen, of course, is third win in his home Grand Prix in the Netherlands. Can you name me the other drivers and the circuit they got it at that have also had 3 wins at their home Grand Prix? So I need the name of the driver and the name of the track.
Am I timed?
You are timed, but I did not plan this, so you've got a few seconds to think
Lewis
about
Hamilton.
it. So I'm only...
Silverstone.
No, I haven't started yet. Give me a second. Have some patience, boy. Where am I going? Clock. There we are. You have got 1 minute, starting from now.
Hamilton at Silverstone.
Correct.
Schumacher at the Nürburgring.
Correct.
Or the Hockenheimring.
Also correct.
Great. Ascari at Monza.
Incorrect.
Oh no. Is Ascari right?
No.
No.
Because it would only be Monza. Wow.
Oh yeah. Who else is good? Jim Clark at Silverstone or Brands Hatch.
Correct.
Oh, look at that. Who else is good in history of F1? Prost at Magny-Cours.
Nope.
Senna. No, he's not Monaco, is he? He only won once at Brazil. Max Verstappen at Zandvoort.
That doesn't count, but yeah. 3 more.
Who's good? Who won the home Grand Prix a lot? In a row, 3 in a row at the home.
No, not 3 in a row, just 3.
Oh,
Time
Alonso's
is
not done it. Oh, Alonso
So
at Valencia.
No.
Or was it? No, he has won 3 in Spain though, not 3 Spanish Grand Prix.
No.
He has won 3 in
He
Spain.
only
He
won
won
2.
06, Valencia 12, and
06
Spain
wasn't
13.
in Valencia. Oh no, no. It's got to be 3 wins at the same track, my friend.
Oh dear, this is so convoluted. You explained this rubbish.
It was not. I did not. You're just
All right.
a moron.
What are the rest?
But you got
There's
4
only 2
out of 7.
I'll take that.
Which
I'll
is
take it. Not bad for
going.
4 hours sleep.
No. I'll give you. Let's try and get these other 3 then, Jamie. You got another.
What
Brit.
sort of era? Another Brit. Who was good at home? Mansell at Silverstone.
Correct. Yep, Silverstone. You
Wow.
actually named this driver, but you got the track wrong.
Who did I? Fangio? No, I didn't say Fangio. There's no Argentinian Grand Prix, is there? Who else did I name? I don't even know. Ascari? Oh, Prost.
Yep.
And it
you got the
wasn't
wrong
Magny
track.
Cours. Where else did they
No,
race?
you're thinking of too late. In
Oh,
fact, I don't
Dijon.
actually nope, that's too early.
Where else did they race in France? What's the one which Jabouille won and there was an Arnoux and Villeneuve battle? It was crazy. I think that was Dijon, wasn't it?
That was Dijon, which is still incorrect.
Reims?
Nope, you're thinking way too early.
Oh, I have no idea. Le Mans? No.
Nope. You're gonna kick yourself.
Magny Cours. Oh, Paul Ricard.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
And well, bless you as well. You made me laugh there because no Argentinian Grand Prix. The final one was Fangio at Buenos Aires.
Oh, Buenos Aires.
3
fair.
wins there, yeah,
Fair.
as well. So good job. 4 out of 7. Not your finest.
Mm,
But
no.
apparently that quiz was too confusing for Jamie.
You need to simplify it. Tell me, you should have been who was on the podium at Zandvoort?
What, last weekend? Or in 1974?
I'm not sure I would have got all 3.
No, probably not, knowing you. Probably not. We've done race rating, Jamie. Driver of the day.
Hmm.
A few shout-outs, isn't there? I think Albon, had a very good weekend.
Ended up finishing 8th, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a bit of an unfortunate race finish, but I think he'd been quick all weekend and, could have had a bit more had things gone his way.
Alonso got the real one, didn't he? And he was quality all weekend.
Alonso did the real one, but mine would be Gasly.
Yeah, I think Gasly has to. And I love how hyped he gets on the radio. I love it.
Yeah, that's kind of what Max should do, isn't it? Get hyped.
Well, he'd have no voice if he did that every time he won.
Perhaps he should stop crying then. Stop talking about retirement all the time.
Stop crying, man. Get back on the track.
Yeah, exactly. Just because he's worried he won't have a dominant car forever. Gasly, I think, definitely, with the fact Alpine are going completely under, probably by the end of next week. Gasly, I think, was my driver of the day there. Predictions recap, Jamie. We both had a bit of a stinker on that one, didn't we?
Did we? I think I put Alonso on the podium.
You did put Alonso on the podium. You put him in P3, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think I said Lando Alonso. I'd like to check, but I'm pretty sure.
So you got 5 then, because you got Max.
I think you only got
correct.
You only got 4. You predicted Max pole and win and got 4 points. Well done.
Yep, because I said Checo P2, which probably should have happened, and I said Hamilton P3.
Which definitely didn't happen.
So my predictions are in the bin. So 5 points to you, 4 points to me, means the gap now is up to 2.
But
you're on
favour.
44. Hashtag LH44, hashtag blessed. I'm on 42, so I'm basically 2 Nick DeFries, which I'm quite happy with. Ricciardo, Jamie, quickly, before we finish off, when do we think he's going to return? Because, of course, he's not going to be back for Monza, but a lot of people are saying he might not be back till Qatar, which would be kind of mad.
A real broken thumb or whatever it is, broken metatarsal, no carpal.
Metacarpal, yeah.
Tarsal's in your foot, that's not the right one.
Tarsal Marquez, sorry.
So Marquez. Oh dear. It takes like 6 to 8 weeks for a normal person. Obviously, F1 drivers aren't normal. So
you mean
Alonso raced last
surgery?
year. Yeah, and Alonso raced last year with a broken jaw. But then you don't use your jaw to drive, so you do use your hands, as far as I'm told. So I would be. What's the calendar saying? F1.
You got Monza this weekend, Singapore after 2 break weeks, and then Japan, and then a break week before Qatar.
It wouldn't surprise me if Lawson races Singapore and Japan as well.
Yeah, it would be good if he did the Japanese Grand Prix and then the weekend after did Super Formula and won it.
Yeah, Super Formula doesn't clash. Doesn't crash. He did crash in Super Formula recently.
He did. He had a massive crash last race. Yeah. Mad.
So if he wanted to, he could do both, which I think he will.
Yeah, I think he's certainly. He's basically trying to prove himself, isn't he?
And secure the AlphaTauri seat in 2023.
Yeah, exactly, alongside Tsunoda. Obviously, we spoke about some driver transfers last week. Both of us think it's going to be pretty dead as of right now, but we'll wait and see. There might be some surprises.
Especially if poor Chair keeps crashing. He definitely will get that seat.
I reckon he will. I reckon he'll win F2 this year. It's definitely Teo Porcher. I mean, this is the problem, isn't it, with F2, is we've got Monza this weekend and then a 3-year break before the final race in Abu Dhabi again. But it is the F3 Championship finale. I've got no idea who's really doing well in that.
The window, yeah. Neither do I.
Let's have a look. I've watched some of the F3 this year. I don't know how I haven't kept up with it, to be honest. I just don't know the championship. Let's have a look. So, currently, Bortoletto should have won it at Spa, but he didn't. Despite only winning 2 races all year, because he just never finishes lower than 6th, apart from Red Bull Ring. And Spa, of course. But Paul Aaron, Pepe Marti, Zach O'Sullivan, Franco Colapinto, and Dino Beganovic, all very,
There's nothing
close.
Screaming out at me here, to be honest, in the F3 Championship this year.
Well, apart from Bortoletto's consistency.
Consistency, but then, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few of them there that will make the jump up to
18,
F2
fair.
next year. What's that, sorry?
He's only 18. Fair play.
Yeah, exactly. Jamie, have we got anything else to add then, or have we done all right?
Off the back of my UK football stadium, or just Premier League football stadium tour, I was saying pre-show we should visit every F1 factory in a day.
Which is quite difficult.
What do you think about that?
When the podcast, I reckon, Jamie, we come to a number right now of when the podcast hits a certain amount of subscribers.
10k?
10,000 subscribers on the podcast.
I'd do it if we got 10k.
Are we saying that if the podcast channel hits 10,000 subscribers, we will do a 24-hour get to every Grand Prix, So
just
that is
context,
basically
Faenza.
Italy,
to Faenza to Silverstone in a pretty much straight line, which in itself is 19 hours. So you'd have to take
we'd
out.
Have to go to
less.
France as well, wouldn't we? We'd have to
no,
go
not
to
Viri.
Vichy. No, not Vichy.
Viri is the.
Are we not going there?
No, they're in
doing
Enstone.
half a job then. Yeah, I suppose it's
Viri?
Enstone, isn't it? Quite far in the east of France. Sorry, west of France, where we don't want to go. I mean, to be honest, Jamie, the things we say on the podcast, I'm not sure we'd be allowed into France anyway. But we'll wait and see.
Yeah, we'll stick to Switzerland.
10,000 subs on the podcast channel, and we will do that. Because not only will we have to obviously come back from Italy, but we'll also have to get out there beforehand, which won't
Yes.
be fun either. What car will we take?
Yours?
I don't trust you driving my car, though.
I won't drive it. You can drive the whole way.
I'm going to drive for 20 hours, am I, in one go?
Sure. That'd be great fun.
Okay. That is definitely a plan. But thank you all, as always, so much for listening. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure you drop us a sub. Like we said, 10,000 subs then on the podcast channel, and we will do that challenge. Anything, Jamie? I'm going to let you outro, because the last time you did it, it was a disaster, and I found it funny.
Oh, no. Yeah, well, we've gone over everything we need to know. Don't forget, podcast is only on the podcast channel from 2024 onwards, so go and sub over there if you got this far. I feel sorry for you, but well done. Yeah, we will be back with a preview of the Monza Italian Grand Prix, which Matt will be attending this week before the race, hopefully. So, yeah, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.